All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So hello everyone, thank you for joining us today for the fire safety webinar. My name is Sam. I manage the Healthy Homes program here at GLCAC. And on behalf of GLCAC, I just want to thank our presenter and the Lawrence Fire Department for their help and flexibility with putting this together. Today's presentation will be recorded and posted on the GLCAC YouTube channel. If you have any questions throughout today's presentation, you can just feel free to put it in the chat and I'll be monitoring that throughout. And then as a reminder, after today's presentation, I'll be contacting each of you to receive your free emergency bag. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to our presenter from the Lawrence Fire Department, Fire Sergeant Jamiel Ortiz. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamiel Ortiz, Lieutenant at the Lawrence Fire Department. And like Samantha said, if there's any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat or just ask them throughout the presentation. Today's topic is going to be about fire prevention in general, but we're going to start with some topics regarding cooking and regarding winter safety. So we'll touch a bunch of topics, and any questions, feel free to ask them throughout the presentation, please. All right, so here we have some structural fire statistics. This is throughout the whole United States. As you can see in 2019, the reason we show this is to show that fire prevention, what we do, our education that we provide works. So as we can see, in 2019, we had 400,000 structure fires, approximately almost 500,000. And in 2022, we're down to 353,000 structure fires. So what we're doing, the education we're providing, it's working. That's why we'd like to start with this. So what is fire prevention? Fire prevention, a lot of people might ask, what is fire prevention? Fire prevention is a function of many departments within the fire department. It's not only fire prevention, our fire suppression units, they also teach, they try to provide some information, but it's a collaboration between all different departments. The goal of fire prevention is to educate the public, which is what we're trying to do today, on precautions that should be taken to prevent potential dangerous and harmful fires. We also try to educate the public on how to survive if an emergency happens. Sorry for those are the tones for a call. So we also try to educate the public on what to do if something is to happen in your home. That's a proactive method of preventing fires, emergencies, and reducing the damage caused by them. Many fire departments have more than one fire prevention officer. Here, we're fortunate enough to have 7 people working in our department of fire prevention, and then we have another 129 people in fire suppression, which also educate the public. So fire prevention, our goals. Number 1, it's life safety. The most important thing for us is life safety. Safety of everyone, people, your pets, any life that we can save and prevent from losing. That's our number 1 goal. Number 2 is property conservation. We try to conserve your property. We try to reduce loss due to fires. And then we want to prevent injuries and educate the public. If we can prevent fires from happening, we can do all this pretty easily. Some of the topics we cover, some of the most important, they're all important, but some of the most important are smoke and carbon monoxide alarms, indoor fire safety, home escape plans, which is it's a big topic for younger kids and for adults. One of the first ones we're going to talk about today is cooking fire safety. We know Thanksgiving is this week, and a lot of times we turn a holiday into unfortunately a tragedy because A lot of people are not educated on what to do if they have a cooking fire. Then we have winter home heating safety. We talk about staying warm, but doing it in a safe manner. And then electrical fires and smoke and fire safety. So these are some important tips I want to relate to the public. If you have an emergency at any time here in the city, feel free to call 911. And we do not charge for our services. It's been a stereotype that has gone around the city for a long time, that we charge for our services. That we do not charge any money for our services. Our services to the public are completely free. To the public, we get paid, but our services are free. And then we have some phone numbers here. If you have an emergency, 911, but we have 2 phone numbers. We have the Lawrence Fire Department number, direct line, and we also have the Lawrence Police Department. Those 2 lines are direct lines. You don't have to wait. Sometimes when you call 911, it takes you through a process. These 2 lines are going to get you directly to us. All right, before we start, any questions? Any questions before we go any farther? We're good, Samantha?
Yeah, looks like we're good.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to start with cooking, fire, and burn safety. Like I said earlier, Thanksgiving's this week, and everyone's going to be in the kitchen. Everyone's going to be cooking. So I'll be providing some helpful information that in case there is an emergency, you'll be able to mediate it temporarily until we get there. All right, next slide. So these are some facts. This comes from the Massachusetts Department of Fire Service website. Cooking is the #1 cause of home fires and home fire injuries in Massachusetts. Unfortunately, that's the #1 cause. It could be prevented. Hopefully, with this information that we're providing today, hopefully we can prevent some of these injuries and home fires. But each year there are thousands of cooking fires in Massachusetts. The fires result in deaths, injuries, and millions of dollars in damage and property damage. Cooking fires are the leading cause of fire injuries every year in Massachusetts. Cooking safety tips. #1 here is for grease fires. If there's ever a grease fire in your home, the easiest thing to do is put a lid on it. We 100% tell people never put water on a grease fire. Water and grease, they do not mix. If you put water on it, it's just going to spread it, and it's going to create a bigger problem. So if you have the ability to do it, put a lid on it and get out. #2, never move a burning pan. That's the reason for that. It's if you tip it over, it's burning. Whatever's inside is super hot. It's gonna injure you badly. So never move a burning pan. Leave it in place. If you can cover it. If you can't do anything about it, get everyone out. Call 911. Like I said earlier, never use water on a grease fire because it's just gonna spread the fire worse. And a big recommendation for us is stand by your pan. If you're cooking, stand by it. Don't leave it unattended. A lot of times it takes minutes for a fire to go from the incipient stage to the fully growth. So always stand by your pan. Never leave it unattended. If you have to step away somewhere, just have someone watch it, but just make sure everyone's at all times the pan is being watched. The next point says wear short or tight-fitting sleeves when cooking. If you're wearing something baggy, it could get caught in the flame and get your clothes on fire. If you do catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll, and then try to get help. Call 911 for help. Last point here is keep pot handles turned inwards to prevent accidents, spills, or of hot content. So if you're cooking, easy practice, just turn your handles in, and like that, you or anyone passing by won't tip it over. Those are easy things that we can do to prevent burns, to prevent cooking fires. Some other tips here are create a 3-foot children-free zone. If you're cooking, you have kids, just put a barrier around your kitchen, your pots. Don't allow them to get in there because kids are curious. So a lot of times they want to touch stuff and they're not doing it on purpose, but accidents do happen. Next point: keep combustible objects like pot holders, towels, bags, and packaging away from heating elements. I know sometimes we have our mittens and the cooking mittens or paper towel around, and you put it right next to the burner. This is something very easy that we can do to prevent the fire. Just keep it away from the burners. For fires inside a second, went too far. So for fires inside a microwave, keep the door closed, turn off the appliance. If you can unplug it, and call 911. This next point, it's pretty obvious. Don't put metal into a microwave. Utensils, aluminum foil, any of that, keep it all out of the microwave. I know we like to cover our turkeys now in Thanksgiving with aluminum foil and stuff. Just make sure there's no aluminum if you're going to put anything in the microwave. Next bullet right here: unplug appliances such as toasters and coffee makers when not in use. Yeah, that could be done pretty easily. If you're not using it, just unplug it and leave it unplugged until you need it. And then lastly, last point here: don't store things in the oven. In my household, I know we always need extra storage, so we put stuff in the oven. You could accidentally hit the oven power knob or the button, and next thing you know, you have a cooking fire. We've seen it often here. So just don't store anything inside the ovens. Any questions up to this point?
No
All right,
questions now.
All right, we'll continue. Facts about cooking fires. Unattended cooking is the most frequent cause of cooking fires. People start cooking, and they just leave the kitchen unattended. Sometimes they step out to the couch, watch a movie, or do something. We've seen it a lot that people are so busy and so stressed, they start the stove and then they just leave. They forget about it, and we've seen that quite a bit. So just make sure if you're cooking, it's attended. Before you leave, make sure it's off. The majority of victims injured in fires are hurt while attempting to fight the fire. That's why we recommend, if you can put the lid on it, put the lid on it. If you can't, don't attempt it. Just get outside, call 911. We'll go and do our job. In the event of a fire, leave the building immediately and call 911. All fires and burns, regardless of size, should be reported to your local fire department. So every fire, whether it's small, big, report it, because sometimes you might have a small fire, you might think it's out, but a lot of times what happens is, let's say the fire finds a crevice or something, finds a gap, they could get right in between the walls, and the next time you're going to know there's a fire, it's when it's blowing out the window. So at whether the fire is big or small, make sure you call us. We have thermal imagers. We have tools that we can use to make sure the fire is completely out. A working smoke alarm. We're going to be talking about smoke alarms shortly, but a working smoke alarm can double a family's chance of survival in a fire. So if you have working smoke alarms, it's going to alert you early. It's going to buy you some time to get out of the building and call 911. Next point, test your smoke and CO alarms. We're going to be talking about this soon. Change your batteries when you change your clocks. Fortunately, now there's been technologies that we've advanced, and a lot of our smoke detectors are sealed 10-year batteries, so you don't have to worry about changing the alarms. But there's still a lot of smoke detectors out there that are battery powered. So you got to make sure your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide alarms are working. And you do that by testing them, hitting either the middle button or there's a button that says test by hitting that. Last point here, don't disable smoke alarms to avoid false alarms while cooking. We see it a lot. We see it a lot in the city. People get annoyed because every time they cook, the smoke alarm goes off. Don't disable them. If you need to relocate the alarm, just grab it, place it somewhere that it's not going to go off, and just place it somewhere else. Don't place it inside a drawer because it's not going to do the job there. We need those smoke alarms on the ceiling, or it's recommended on the ceiling, but just don't put them away. All right, so we have here winter home heating safety. This is a big one right now because we're coming into winter now, and we're all starting to. It's getting cold. We start to pull out the space heaters, and this is when we start seeing a lot of problems with the winter home heating safety equipment. All right, next one. So we want you to keep warm but keep safe when heating your home this winter. We want you to stay warm, but we want you to do it in a safe manner. And there's ways to do that. First point here states heating is a leading cause of home fires in Massachusetts. Use your home heating system and space heating appliance responsibly to keep warm and keep safe. So we're not telling you don't use your space heaters, but we want you to use them in a safe manner. You can use your space heaters, but there's safe ways to do it. Before I go too far, was there any questions about the cooking fires, cooking safety?
Not seeing any questions now.
All right, so we'll continue with the second bullet here. Heating causes thousands of residential fires each year. Heating equipment is the number two cause of home fires in Massachusetts, and it's the number one source of carbon monoxide. So we got to be really, really careful how we use heating equipment. Next one. All right, smoke and CO alarms. These are super important. This is the base and foundation of everything we do here in fire prevention. This is what we preach 100% of the time. If we have these alarms, we can buy you time, like I stated earlier, and we can avoid a lot of tragedies. So smoke and CO alarms, make sure they're working. Smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms should be on every level, including outside the bedrooms. So for the city of Lawrence specifically, we have a city ordinance that every bedroom should have a smoke alarm, plus the outside. Every level should have at least one CO alarm, but every bedroom should have one smoke, and then every level, one carbon monoxide, including the basement. Test your smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms monthly and change batteries twice a year if they're not sealed. And we do this when the clog changes. Right here on the right bottom corner, you can see the different kinds of alarms. There's a lot of them. But if you see something, if you can note something here, they all have a button. They all have a button, and that's the way you test it. And then the last point here is check the manufacturing date on the back of the alarm. Replace smoke alarms after 10 years and CO alarms after 5 to 7 years, depending on the model. All right. Let's talk a little bit about space heaters. Space heaters, like I said, they start coming out now. We start seeing a lot of these now. You can use them. We're not telling you don't use them, but we want you to use them safely. If you must use a space heater, do so safely. Do not use space heaters as your number one heating source. So don't plug in 3 space heaters to warm up your house. Hopefully you have baseboard heating or other type of heating that you don't need to use this as your sole heating source. Keep anything that can burn at least 3 feet away. So the space heater rule that we have is give it 3 feet on every side. All around, give it 3 feet. I know some places are tight. It might be hard to get 3 feet, but try to give it as much space as you can. Don't put it against a bed. Don't put it against a curtain. Anything that can burn, keep away. We want you to plug the space heaters directly into your outlet, into the wall outlet. We don't want to see extensions because a lot of times these extensions are not capable of running a space heater. So we see fires because space heater's just asking for too much, and that extension cord is not enough to provide the power that it needs. And then always turn off the space heater if you're going to bed, or if you're going away, always turn it off. Don't leave it on, because a lot of times, let's say you're going to bed, you leave your space heater on, you get hot, you take your blanket off, blanket falls on top of the space heater, and then you have a fire. And the last point here states portable kerosene and propane heaters are illegal in Massachusetts, so there shouldn't be any of that being used in Massachusetts. All right, let's talk a little bit about carbon monoxide. We call it the silent killer. The reason for that name, it's because if you look on the bottom left, that image right here, it states carbon monoxide can't be seen, it can't be smelled, can't be heard, and you can't stop it. So the only way we can detect carbon monoxide is with a carbon monoxide detector. It's very dangerous because, as you can see, it really gives you you can't tell it's there. The way you're going to know if there's carbon monoxide, if you look at the image right next to it on the right, it's because you're going to start feeling these symptoms here. You're going to start getting a headache. You're going to get nauseous, dizzy. You can't breathe, and then eventually you're going to collapse and lose consciousness. A lot of people might ignore this because it's symptoms. It's the symptoms of a cold. So that's why you need these carbon monoxide detectors, because they're going to save your life. They're going to let you know that there's carbon monoxide present. Otherwise, you can't detect it. So let me touch upon these points a little bit. Heating equipment is a leading source of carbon monoxide. So your boilers are going to cause carbon monoxide. Your stove can cause carbon monoxide. Anything that burns a fossil fuel. So you're supposed to install carbon monoxide alarms on every level, one on each level, including the basement. Do not use a gas stove or oven for heat. Don't use it as a heating source. We've seen it. People don't have heat sometimes, and they turn on the burners, or they turn on the oven and open the door in order to heat themselves. That's not ovens and stoves are not heating appliances. Keep appliances vented and exhaust pipes clear of drifting snow and bushes. So now, we're in Massachusetts. We're going to start seeing snow soon. Once you go outside to shovel your driveway and shovel your sidewalks, just make sure these vents are all uncovered as well. All right, so this is some information we'd like to give for landlords. We recommend landlords all the time to keep well-maintained their furnaces and hot water heaters. This is going to prevent any problem when you do need it in the winter. So if you have your furnaces and hot water heaters professionally checked every year, this can prevent some of these problems that are seen every year. A lot of times when you get that first cold in November, September, they go to turn on the heat and it's not working. So this is just a check, just some recommendations for landlords. Do not use or store gasoline or paint and supplies inside where they can be ignited by the pilot light. So we don't want any gasoline or combustible material around these appliances, because, as we all know, there's a pilot light in these furnaces, and if you have gasoline or any combustible material around it, when that pilot goes on, the combustibles can light up. And then lastly, keep spaces clear and clean around this equipment. This is huge. A lot of times you go to homes here, it's super cluttered downstairs in the basements near these appliances, and a lot of times they contribute to fires. I'll use an example from this past week. We had a fire in a furnace, super clean place. That's the only reason that place didn't go up. Otherwise, if there was a bunch of clutter around it, it would have been a different story. So the next slide talks about gas heating equipment. As we all know, we had the big emergency, I think in 2018 here in Massachusetts, the gas emergency. So this information serves well if you smell any gas leaks, just call 911. Number one here states on the top, gas leaks can be dangerous. We all know that. If you smell something like rotten eggs or think there might be a gas leak, move outdoors, turn off the electrical switch, and don't turn off the electrical switches because sparks can cause an explosion. So don't smoke. If you smell something like rotten eggs, that's an additive that the gas companies put into natural gas. It's natural gas in its natural state does not smell like anything. So they have to add a chemical called mercaptan, and the smell of mercaptan is rotten eggs. So if you smell something like rotten eggs and you suspect it is a gas leak, move outside. Do not smoke. Do not turn anything on or off, and call 911 immediately, please. More information for landlords. If you use oil heating equipment, don't leave the tank to get completely empty, and call for services if the oil burner releases smoke or soot in the house. This one's very important. We teach this in schools. We teach this. We do 4 fire escape drills in school every year, but we don't do enough of these at home. So this is very important to practice it. And home fire escape drills, they start with planning, and then you got to practice them in order to become very efficient at them. So some statistics regarding home fire safety. Some facts, most fatal fires occur in the home. As we all know, we spend most of the time at home. So most of these fatal fires are going to occur where you spend the most time, which is home. So having work in smoke alarms and planning and practicing home fire escape drills can reduce your risk of injury or death in a fire. That's pretty obvious. If we plan a home escape plan and we practice it often, we're gonna have less injuries and hopefully less deaths in fire situations. Children practice, like I stated earlier, we practice with the children fire drills in schools at least 4 times per year, but we lack practicing at home. It's pretty easy. It takes about 10 minutes. And it's very easy. So you can make it a fun activity with your kids. You can do something that engages them and makes them want to do practice. But it's definitely very, very important to practice. A lot of times we come in through one door, and that's the only door we know. We don't know about any other exits in the home, and what's going to happen when you have an emergency and that door that you enter in through all the time it's out of the equation. What's going to happen? You're going to have no time to think and go a different way. When fire strikes, last bullet here. When fire strikes, you may have less than 1 minute to safely get out of the building. Knowing what to do can mean the difference between life and death. 100%. Fire doubles every 30 seconds. And it's not the fire that will get you, it's the smoke. So if you practice this, you get out, you do it efficiently, you're gonna have a better chance of survival if something does happen at home. So what do we want to do? What do we want to teach our kids? What do we want to teach ourselves, our family? So when the alarms sound, when they sound, leave the building. Leave the building. That's the first thing you do. If you have a good home escape plan, your kids are going to know what to do. Everyone that lives in your home are going to know what to do. But that comes with a good home fire escape plan. We like to teach our kids when we go to the schools, get out and stay out. You get out, you stay out. You don't go in for anything. You don't go in for your pets. You don't go in for absolutely nothing. If there is someone inside that couldn't get out, a pet or something, that's where we come into play, and we're gonna do the most we can to try to get whatever pet or family members inside. Once you're out, go to a family meeting place, dial 911 from a neighbor's house, and wait at the meeting place. What's very helpful for us, if once you're out, if you can let us know, if you can notify the fire department that everyone's out, everyone's safe, or notify us as soon as possible that, hey, there's someone in there, there's something in there, and try to guide us the best you can. The more information we have, the better it will go. So here we have, this slide talks about planning 2 ways out of each room. Like I said earlier, we go through one door, and that's the only door we know. But it's not a problem when there's not an emergency. It's going to become a problem when there is an emergency, and that door is completely out of our reach. So we like to preach, plan 2 ways out. No 2 ways out of your room. No 2 ways out of your house, in case there's an emergency and you can't go out through that main door. Another thing that I did not include into this presentation is keeping your door closed at night. Sleep with your door closed. I can say, if you have an emergency somewhere else in the house and your door is closed, that buys you a little bit of time to that the smoke won't get into your room. So we teach that a lot. Keep your doors closed, and they'll buy you a little bit of time. So number one point here is using arrows show 2 ways out of every room. If you make a plan and you post it somewhere, using arrows very helpful for the little ones. Choose a meeting place outdoors. Discuss and practice a plan with each member of the family so everyone understands what to do in an emergency. This is a big point. Discuss, practice. The more you practice, the better you get at it. Make sure that each family member can open the door, locks, and window latches. Let's say the next point says, check to see if all windows that are part of the escape plan open easily. So make sure that everyone is able to open if just so everyone's capable of opening windows if there is an emergency. All right, so continue, plan 2 ways out. If your home has security bars or child window guards, they should have a quick release feature that can be operated from the inside. That's when the last point, that's what it's talking about. Make sure everyone's capable of opening the windows. If you have this, you have to practice so everyone knows how to operate these safeguards. Keep pathways throughout the house clear of obstacles such as furniture, newspaper, toys, etc. Make sure all the exits are wide open. There's not a couch covering it, because if you can have an exit, but if you have a couch in a zero visibility scenario, you're not going to be able to find that door or open it right away. Plan around your abilities. If you wear eyeglasses or hearing aids, keep them at your bedside along with the flashlight. Post your street number on your home. This one's big. Post your street number on your home and numbers clearly visible from the street. This helps us locate your house quickly. A lot of times we have problems with this because a lot of homes do not have their numbers. So they'll call us and every minute counts. They'll call us and we can't find the house because it doesn't have a number on it. So properly tagging your home with the right number that is visible to us will help us a lot, and it won't delay anything. Any questions up to this point?
I'm not seeing any.
All right, so we're gonna touch upon this topic a little bit. Renters insurance. This is huge because when you have a major event, the homeowner has insurance on the home, but renters and tenants a lot of times don't have insurance. So all their stuff, even if they lose it, they're not covered by the homeowner's insurance. So this is something that's very important. So you can get your stuff covered if you lose it. And I'll give you a couple reasons in the next slide regarding why renters insurance is good. So here are 6 good reasons to get renters insurance. So number 1, it's affordable. It's very affordable. The average renters insurance policy costs $15 to $30 a month. This is $15 to $30. Really, it's really not much. So, and you're covered. It gives you peace of mind. If something does happen, you're covered by these policies. Number 2, it covers losses to personal property. A renter's insurance policy protects against losses to your personal property, including clothes, jewelry, luggage, computers, furniture, and electronics. So $15 to $30 is going to will cover all this stuff. Number 3, your landlord might require it, which is something that we push a lot for in the city. We try to tell the landlords, hey, require, we try to tell them, ask for renters insurance because it's helping your tenants if something happens. And like that, they're not, if you have a major event, they're not left in the dry. Renters insurance continues. So number 4, it provides liability coverage. Liability coverage is also included in the standard renters insurance policy. This provides protection if someone is injured while in your home, or if you or another covered person accidentally injure someone. So that's another good reason. Number 5, it covers your belongings when you travel. Renters insurance covers your personal belongings, whether they are in your home, car, or with you while you travel. For $15, $30, that's pretty good. Number 6, it may cover additional living expenses. If your home becomes uninhabitable due to one of the covered perils, your renter's insurance policy may cover additional living expenses, including the costs associated with living somewhere else temporarily, food and more. So if you're displaced, renter's insurance will cover a hotel. A lot of them will cover a hotel. I'll cover your food and other expenses. So you can't really go wrong with it. This is a fire safety checklist that we'd like to make sure all tenants are aware of, and hopefully everything's checked off. So number 1, make sure you have in your home, you have smoke detectors and carbon monoxide alarms. Are they functional? Make sure they're working. It doesn't make sense to have them there and they're not working. So you got to make sure they're working. Do you know 2 ways out? Always know 2 ways out. Know your main entrance. Know 2 ways out of your room. Know 2 ways out of your apartment. Next will be call 911 for any emergency. And then, do you have renter's insurance? I preach renter's insurance. Definitely, if you don't have it, look into it. It's definitely a lifesaver. You might not need it today, but when you least expect it, you'll need it. And then lastly, landlord's checklist. As a landlord, you want to make sure that your fire alarm system and sprinkler systems are working properly. Make sure you do your annual checkups. By law in the state of Massachusetts, you got to do a annual checkup once a year. for your fire alarm and sprinkler system. Next point, have you conducted your fire alarm and sprinkler inspections, which I just said, these have to be done once a year. Do my tenants have renter's insurance? As a landlord, make sure your tenants, try to get them to get, renter's insurance, because it's gonna benefit them greatly. And lastly, are my appliances, boilers, furnaces working properly? And then that concludes our presentation. I know I went a little bit quick, but if you guys have any questions, anyone has any questions regarding anything, and I can answer it, this is a time to ask.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to put that in the chat.
And I hope this information is beneficial for, it's a lot of good information. Hopefully, now that you guys are educated a little bit, now you guys can provide it forward to family members and friends.
Yeah, I will say I personally learned a lot, so thank you so much for coming and presenting to us today.
It is my pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
Of course. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. If anything comes up later on, you guys can always reach out to us over at GLCAC and we'll talk to Jamiel and let him know. Oh, I'm just seeing thank you. So yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite, Samantha.
Of course, thanks for doing this for us. It was great.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone.